Welcome to the Have Courage Summit, a summit dedicated to helping you get out of your own way and to help unleash some of that potential that sits within you. Today, I am so grateful to welcome Michael Strasner, who is the author of an awesome new book called Mastering Leadership. And how are you, Michael? Thanks for joining me.
Fantastic. Happy Saturday, Gary.
Thank you very much. Well, look, before we get going, do you mind giving the people that are looking at this conversation a bit more of a background, to you, but also where did the inspiration for your new book come from?
Well, first off, I've been a transformational trainer and coach for the last 33 years. And being that I've spent a majority of my life as a trainer and a coach working with people about leadership on all different levels, whether it be professional leadership, personal leadership, emotional intelligence work, to raise the consciousness and raise the awareness of where we're operating from in life so that we can create extraordinary results and the experience that we want in our relationships and in our life as we're living it. And book Mastering Leadership came from the context of a training that I have been facilitating for over 20 years called the PhD program, and in some cases it's called the FIT program. So PhD, of course, would be Mastering Leadership, so having like a doctorate in leadership, and the other FIT acronym would be for Facilitator in Training, Facilitation in Training. And so basically what I am doing through the book and what I'm doing in my work is I'm taking a set of values and principles and behaviors that leaders throughout history have applied and used in their lives, and I have brought them together and put them in a really simple format where you can follow these steps and live by these steps and have access to these steps so that you can create, as I said, not only extraordinary results, but the experience that you want in life. And most people, unfortunately, are caught up in the routine, the automatic pilot, same old, same old. You know, it's not even a new year for many people. It's really more like another day, you know, where the same day repeats itself over and over and over again. And, you know, nobody wants to live like that. If they had choice, if they had the opportunity to shift, if they had the opportunity to transform themselves, then of course they would, because what's more important than survival is to live a purposeful life and to live a life that not only has meaning to me, but has meaning to other people, and to create the joy in living and the love that we want in living. So it's not just professional or personal, but it's all aspects of our lives. And so basically I wanted to impart that wisdom to people that I've been coaching people for the last 30 plus years, and in particular, that specific program that I've been training for over 20 years.
It's absolutely wonderful. What I like straight away, Michael, is that you're talking about this meshing of who we are as human beings, and not just this sort of professional mask or the mask you wear at home, you know, with your wife or your friends. Really, just trying to be that full person. Is that something that you really believe in, Michael, yourself?
100%. I believe that how we do anything is how we do everything. And it doesn't matter if it's the way I play golf, or it's the way I interact with strangers, or the way I interact with my coworkers or my family. I believe that we have the same rackets, we have the same, you know, limiting thoughts, we have the same insecurities, we have the same fears across the board. They're just, let's say, highlighted, or they're exacerbated in certain situations. So if I have a fear of intimacy, then that's going to affect my relationship, no doubt about it. Even if I have intimacy with my partner sometimes, it doesn't mean that the fear isn't there. So the fear is always there. It's just on a different volume. When I go out into the world, if I have a fear of intimacy, then that's going to show up at a much bigger, higher level. You know, I might sit on the airplane, know that people are near me, and then kind of know they're there, and maybe even say hi, but am I going to turn to the person and look right at them and say, hi, my name is Michael Strasner, and, you know, make eye contact? No, people don't do that, because it's an uncomfortable fear, this like ridiculous anxiety that we made up because we're more afraid of what people think of us than being ourselves. So here's a quick challenge for people. Think about this. Imagine if next time you get on the elevator or the lift, I think that's what we call it in the UK. Yes. So imagine next time you get on the lift, instead of staring at the numbers and staring straight ahead, go into the elevator, turn around and look directly at the people and say, hi, everybody. How are you? How's your day? What are you up to today? What are you going to create today that wasn't going to happen anyway? I mean, think about how crazy that sounds, but also how simple it sounds. And then maybe how that might push me through some of my fears, the fear of intimacy and so on and so forth. So anyway, yes, I do find that it's consistent. I also find that we can push through those limitations and fears, and we can do it in lots of ways, big ways and small.
How do you go about helping people with those sort of journeys as maybe part of the book that your Master Leadership book? You speak about 12 distinctions. Is it to some extent, for those that may not have read any of your book yet, is it a playbook of sorts, Michael, that you're trying to offer to people?
No, yes and no. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, let me make this distinction. We all have ego. And so ego is defined as the separate, isolated self. So ego is this voice in my head that I hear. For those of you that are wondering what voice, you could just simply say the voice that's talking to you right now while I'm talking to you. So, it's that little voice that we always have in our mind. And that's the voice of ego. And so it's this voice in my head that makes me think and causes me to think that you and I are not connected, that you're different from me. And when we're kids and we're small and we're developing ego, it's not bad. It just starts out as this sort of neutral thing where my name is Michael, your name is Gary, you're Gary, I'm Michael, we're not the same. And it's not a harmful thing. But as we get older, those walls get bigger and thicker. And, now we're 15 and I look at you and I wonder, can I trust you? Do you like me? Are you the kind of person I want to hang out with? Are you the kind of person that maybe I could be friends with? So that ego gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And what it does is it creates separation between me and you and creates separation from me and the world. And so in that ego, our ego has a set of values like looking good, being right, being in control, survival at all costs, avoid harmful or dangerous things. We call that fear, isolation, resignation. So we have all these ego conversations, be right no matter what. And so what I'm offering is an alternative set of values. So instead of listening to your voice saying, I can't because I never did it before, and because my father was a failure, and my teachers told me I wasn't going to be good enough or smart enough. In other words, instead of selling out to my ego and what I made up about myself, shifting that conversation to, I can do anything. Leaders are the kind of people that say, I'm going to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. I mean, John F. Kennedy said that. And to my knowledge, he might have been really wise in many ways, but I don't think he was a rocket scientist. I don't think he was an astrophysicist. I don't think he knew anything, in particular about how to, produce rocket fuel or create oxygen, inside of a capsule. But he had the vision and he had the commitment and he had the desire and the idea to make it happen. And when you have that, you can create people around you and you can enroll people around you that are like-minded and enrolled in the same vision. And so the idea is moving out of these conversations and thoughts that really cause us to shoot ourselves in the foot, cause us to have mediocre relationships, mediocre results, and shifting them to a different set of thoughts, a different set of beliefs. And that's what I'm showing in the book, is what those alternative values or beliefs can be.
It's really interesting for me, this, because if you think about, so the summit's, of course, about helping people have more courage. I find it really interesting because myself, as someone that had so much of that negative self-talk for so long, Michael, that you've spoken about, it's funny. It's almost like we have to try and lean in and be more, like, being courageous means being more of who we really are. And we're so not used to being that.
100%.
Quite interesting.
100%. Because look, when you came into the world, I came into the world, what were we? We were nothing. We didn't know what we were. I mean, you didn't know when you were born. I didn't know when I was born, if I was going to be, a great athlete or a scientist or a doctor or, a janitor, or if I was going to feel confidence in myself when I'm 30, or if I was going to feel insecurity when I'm 30. I mean, we were a blank canvas. And then as we come into life and we are domesticated, and this is what I talk about in my book, we were domesticated, indoctrinated, encultured into our parents' conversations and our siblings and our environment. You were raised in the UK, I was raised in Boston, and it's a different, let's say, environment, but yet we're still indoctrinated, encultured, domesticated, and trained into behaving and being who we are. And most parents don't have the tools to get out of the way. Like you talked about, your summit series about getting out of your own way. Well, most parents don't have those tools. Most parents have, let's say, the tools of how to have sex with another person, So your mother and father had sex. My mother and father had sex, but that doesn't mean they were qualified to be parents. That doesn't mean they had the tools to create a healthy relationship, a healthy environment where you and I could both take our authentic selves and develop them and be and flourish in who we are. We didn't have that. So your parents did the best they could given what they know. My parents did the best they could given what they know. And quite frankly, as much as we love them, many of our parents should be fired and fired for incompetence. You could be like a wonderful person, but really suck at your job. It's like my mother, I love my mother. But as a child, I did not get what I needed from my mother. My father, I love my father, I worship my dad, but I didn't get what I needed from him. I mean, I wanted a hug from my dad. I never got it. I wanted a love from my dad. Never got it. I took that feeling of love. And I wanted my mother to stop hugging me and stop saying, I love you. And I wanted my mother to support me, be on my team, back me up, reinforce me, believe in me. So I felt like I got criticism from my mother, and I felt like I got nothing from my dad, like no emotional connection. So I made up, as a result of that, I am a piece of shit. I don't matter. My vote doesn't count. And on top of that, I have an older brother. His name is Larry, and Larry is perfect. Larry's like flawless. My mother would always say, Michael, why can't you be more like Larry? Larry's so easy. Larry's so wonderful. And that didn't empower me. That made me hate my mother, and it made me resent my brother and be jealous of my brother. So those things, don't work. Does it mean I think my mother woke up and thought, how can I destroy my son Michael today? No. But that doesn't mean she was equipped and have the tools that I have, that you are creating, in order to be the best father, the best husband, the best man, the best human being that we could be. That's why you're doing this. That's why I'm doing this.
Absolutely. No, it's so powerful. I find it so interesting that we're in 2019 now, and I don't know if you feel the same, Michael, but you can feel that there's something palpable happening around us, going back to that, that almost that childlike state of actually just being okay with connecting and not having to be something that we're not. I can just feel it is coming, but that's why I think we've got the fears in the US, we've got the fear in Europe, because the power base is shifting. I think we are finding out who we are again more at the moment.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of signs of transformation and evolution of our consciousness, for sure. And I think some of them are coming out really in sad ways, meaning like in the United States, we've had a lot of mass shootings, and we continue to have mass shootings. And one of the things that's come out of it is we have, for example, these kids that started the March for Your Lives program, and it was all over the United States, and it was a protest that started and it went all over the United States and other cities throughout the world. And that came directly out of this tragedy. And those kids were the kids that were at one of the schools where the shooting took place. So these 15, 16, 17-year-olds woke up as a result, sadly, horrifically, of this tragic event that happened last February on Valentine's Day, the shooting at Parkland High School, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. These kids rose up and they said, you know what? We cannot wait for our parents. We cannot wait for the government. We cannot wait for somebody else to be courageous enough to speak up, to be an interruption in this behavior. It's not acceptable that kids are afraid to go to school. And so they marched to the state capitol in Tallahassee, Florida, and they enrolled the governor and the legislature in Florida in passing a law to change the gun laws in Florida. And it was a conservative Congress there in the state, and it was a conservative governor. And so the fact that this was a big change to the state gun law in Florida, it came out of this tragedy, and then it spread to the March for Your Lives, and now that's spreading to other people standing up.
So with the Women's March that's happening today in the United States, and the stand and the commitment to speak out courageously about what's possible for equal rights and equality throughout the United States, but also for the world, I believe that it's with marches and protesting and voting and standing up and creating quality candidates. I believe that we have the power individually and collectively to transform our culture and make it not only safe for women and safe for children, but also to proactively create opportunities for people equally, and to learn the skills that we need to learn, and to learn the behaviors that are going to create healthy relationships in our families, so that we can not just get out of the way of our children, but be the wind beneath their wings, and to really have them flourish. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, if your relationship with your children was a relationship where there was a level of love, but also respect and admiration. And if they had free time and they chose to spend that free time with you or me, I mean, that's feedback. And I just look at that and I think it's possible for everybody and anybody. I'm creating it with my kids. If you read my new book, Mastering Leadership, the foreword is by my daughter. And I can't read my book without getting past the foreword and being in tears every time I read it, because I cannot believe that my own child is saying that about me. And what an incredible privilege that is, an honor that is. But I also think it's possible for everybody. I don't think I have any special or more special gifts than other people have. I just think I work at it and I'm committed to it. And it matters to me to be the best leader, man, human, father, being I can be. So.
Oh, it's lovely. Would you mind sharing with us maybe one or two examples for you when you've had to step into your sort of courage? You know, maybe it's to do with your business, maybe it was to do with your family. You know, what examples could you share with the people listening to this conversation where you've had to, you know, you felt that fear and did it anyway, or just really, you know, lent in to some of those vulnerabilities yourself?
Well, let's see. So I've started many businesses in my life over the last 25 years. My first business was in 1994. I started Direct Impact. That's the name of my company. And in 1994, prior to starting my business, I was working for a leadership training company. I had been there for 9 years. I was a vice president, and I was on the path to eventually be the president of the company. And that's what I thought I had always wanted to do in all those years. So I was committed to it. I was on the path. I was on the track. And then it dawned on me that I started coming up with these ideas of things that I would want to do, like create this mastery leadership training program that I created, like do coaching, executive coaching, personal coaching, organizational training, coaching, and development. And the thing is, nobody was doing it. It was not an industry. And so I thought about it. I connected with my vision. I connected with my purpose. And I realized that I, yes, really want to be an entrepreneur, that I don't want to just be, let's say, a really valued high level employee in somebody else's vision, that I wanted to get out on the skinny branches and go start my own business. And that's what I did. And so that was a huge risk. I was married with kids and, you know, a house and a mortgage, and I'd never been on my own before. And so I had the vision. I was committed to the vision, and I went after it. I pursued it. And so that required incredible courage and incredible confidence and belief in myself. And I did it. And I actually was a pioneer, and I'm one of the, you know, pioneers in the whole coaching industry. Before it was, you know, a program that you could take, or a certification you could get through IFC. I started back in 1994. And so I was doing executive coaching on Wall Street. I was doing personal and executive coaching for companies and businesses all over the United States, as well as other countries. And so that was huge, a huge courageous risk. And then I would also say, on a personal level, you know, it takes courage to reinvent myself as a father. So having 5 kids, all kids are different. Everybody needs something different. And so not being attached to the method, or attached to the ways of being that work in one relationship, and applying that to everybody. You know, so like there's just one rule in this house, or there's just one rule in this life, and you've got to follow it. But reinventing myself in every one of my relationships with my kids, because they're all so different, and being courageous shows up for me in being more vulnerable and willing to redesign myself and reinvent myself in order to support my children, than me being right about, you know, I'm the parent and you're here to serve me somehow, and it's your responsibility to fit into my mode. So I think that flexibility has been incredibly courageous, and it's also caused me to be very vulnerable and pliable. And I think that that's allowed me to be able to adapt to each of my kids and provide something unique and different for all of them, and have them all flourish. In my, you know, upbringing, I shared about a little bit earlier, I feel like my brother Larry got a lot of wonderful things from his relationship with my mother, and got them when he needed them as a child. And I did not get those when I needed them as a child. Have I been able to create them now with my mother as an adult? Yes, absolutely. I've forgiven my mother, and we've transformed our relationship. And it doesn't mean that I started out of the box at the same level of effectiveness as my brother Larry, because that's not true. I had to do tremendous work on myself to be able to let go of all of that and redesign myself, but also my relationship with her. So I think courage shows up for me in my willingness to let go of the past, let go of my attachment to being right, let go of my victim story, and be willing to be vulnerable and redesign and reinvent myself in order to make things work.
No, it's one. What's really interesting for me, what you just described there, is that, so for myself as well, quite recently, it's been that forgiveness piece. So forgiving myself as well as forgiving those that I thought had done something to me. It's incredible. You know, and I think getting out your own way for me is just that forgiveness piece, and just being okay with what's gone. It's
Let me give.
It's a new thing, Michael. It's a really new thing for me, that.
Well, I want to also take that a little step further. So I actually talk about forgiving in both of my books, Living on the Skinny Branches and Mastering Leadership. And most people, when they think of forgiving, they think of sort of like this passive, you know, this passive thought, like, okay, I forgive you. You know, what they don't realize is, let's break down the word forgiving. Let's put it into 2 words: forgiving. So what I believe is, what I am forgiving, what I'm really saying is, I am for giving, giving of myself, giving my love, giving my visions, giving my ideas, giving my heart. I am for. What does for mean? Proactive. I am responsible. I choose it. It's a proactive cause in the world where I'm giving my authentic self away to other people. It's not this passive, okay, I forgive you, like I'm going to get off my perch, I'm going to get off my, out of my victim tower, and I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to knight you with forgiveness. It's more like I'm getting my power back.
Mm-hmm.
I am the cause, the author, and the leader of my life. And I have the power to create anything I want because I have no past. If I forgive, where's the past? It's in the past. If I forgive, I'm creating from a blank space. So forgiveness is actually incredibly powerful. One of the things that I really was moved by is Martin Luther King, which, by the way, it's his birthday, and we're celebrating here in the United States on Monday. We have a national holiday. Martin Luther King, of course, has the I Have a Dream speech, and he has so many incredible words of wisdom and powerful visions and values that can really impact the world, not only 50 years ago, but today and all of our lives. One of the things that he said that really resonated for me was that forgiveness is not an occasional act. Forgiveness is a permanent attitude.
Powerful.
Imagine
Powerful.
if we were forgiving on an ongoing basis, then we sleep with a clean slate, we wake up in a clean slate, and then anything and everything is possible.
That's stunning, and I think as we talk, it just reminds us. You talk about attaching, ourselves to the past or to the thinking that we had about ourselves in years gone by. I just find it really, really fascinating. And again, I'm only learning this myself now. That we are in the moment human beings. So what we just discussed 3 seconds ago is now history. Yet somehow we tie so much emotion to our thinking over years, and it just layers up and layers up and layers up. And I think for me, the biggest thing we can do to get out of our own way is just try and drop that thinking. And as you say, start with a clean slate every day. I think that's beautiful. Really do.
Yeah, I mean, what is a life worth living? Is it something you did yesterday? Is it something that happened a year ago? I mean, listen, I can tell you right now that my wife and I went to Monterey, California for our anniversary last October. And we had 5 days. And I could literally right now talk about how incredible that experience was.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could put my passion and my energy into, I'm going to see my wife today. Right now, she's not home. She's at a cheerleading competition with our daughter. But I'm going to see my wife in a few hours and focus my energy on what I'm committed to creating with my wife when she comes home, how I'm committed to showing up for her, the magic in the love that I feel for her, and allow myself to be vulnerable and bring that alive. And one of those two, I believe, will create magic in my life on an ongoing basis. And it isn't the memory of what happened in October last year. It's the power that I have to facilitate the future, the power I have to create the future today, now in my life. So what makes me in love with my wife versus simply love my wife is that I'm using my power to create. I'm not living in the past, even if the past. Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah, totally does. Totally, it's beautiful. And I'm conscious of time. I see we're coming up to the end now, Mike. I just want to thank you so much for the congruence. I had the pleasure, just for those that are watching our chat, of seeing you present in front of 1,000 people in Arizona last September. And speaking to you now, your congruence, your passion, your energy to try and help other people be the best they can be. Honestly, it's so inspiring. So thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real fun and treat for me to reconnect with you. I remember your face now that I'm seeing your face. And even though there were 1,000 people there, it's still cool to see you. And thank you for inviting me to be here. And continue to do the work you're doing and follow your vision and follow your passion, because transformation gets to happen for the UK and it gets to happen throughout Europe. And, I kind of look at it like this. The drift we live in, the culture that's there, let's call it the drift, or let's call it Brexit, or let's call it the shutdown. That's what's happening in the cynical part of the world. But you and I are not here to sell out to the cynicism. You and I are here to inspire people to rise up in the cynicism. And let's create transformation in Brexit or the shutdown. Isn't that awesome? I see the congruency there and the synergy there.
100%. And so excited to see what these journeys for all of us bring. Because as you say, Michael, to wrap up, we're all connected. So let's remember that. So
Totally.
Have a great day. Thank you so much again.
All right, you too, Gary. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.